Hello, my name is Tiffany Velati, and today I am going to be doing a video based off of the term called trauma bonding. So, first I'm going to read a literal description of it off of the internet, just to give you an idea of what it really is about. Trauma bonding is a psychological response to abuse. It occurs when the abused person forms an unhealthy bond with the person who abuses them. The person experiencing abuse may develop sympathy for the abusive person, which becomes reinforced by cycles of abuse. So usually it's a narcissist abusing, and they abuse, and then they show a little bit of love. They'll slap somebody around, and then they'll make them dinner, or feed them, or take them out to eat. So it's off and on, and the abused person is like, well, they hit me, but they also feed me and provide for me and take me on vacation. I don't know what to do. So the person experiencing abuse may develop sympathy for the abusive person, which becomes reinforced by cycles of abuse, followed by remorse. Stockholm Syndrome is one type of trauma bonding. And to be honest, I was going to bring up Stockholm Syndrome. I didn't see it there. It certainly is there. Trauma bonding. When I say we, the world may look at a woman or a man, but usually a woman, and be like, well, if she was abused, why does she defend him? Or if she was really abused, why would she make a movie with him? Harvey Weinstein. Or if she was abused, why would she be back with him the next week? Or if she was abused, why would she call the cops, and then the next day she's right back in the home? It's called trauma bonding. Just like Stockholm Syndrome. My mother is a perfect example of trauma bonding. And to even hear myself say that is deeply saddening. But I even knew that was happening at an extremely young age. I would watch my stepfather slap my mother around, beat her children to a pulp, their children. I was the half sibling. But those were his kids. And to watch her, she is. I think now she knows, but she's not ready to leave the money. But for sure, growing up, he would slap her around. He would beat the living pulp out of his own children, which obviously are her kids too, and she would say, it's just discipline. And I was like pretty young, but I knew, I was like always the whistleblower. Like, I saw things that were for adults only, if anybody to see. I saw, and it broke my heart. I remember watching them get beat, and then afterwards, ushering my brother to the side on the stairs and being like, what? You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. And just reassuring him, reassuring all of them, but especially my one brother, because he was old enough to really understand, and he got the brunt of it. And I would just tell him, it's not your fault. Whatever you do, don't turn out like him. It's not your fault. And I watched my mother cut me out of her life at 12 years old because a friend's mother picked me up for the day, and we hung out, and she noticed something was wrong and asked me what was wrong, and I refused to tell her. I was like, no, you don't even want to know. And she's like, no, and I'm like, no. And she's like, I won't say anything. What's wrong? And I was like, no, you have to promise not to say anything. And she promised. And I told her, my stepdad beats the living daylights out of my brothers. And I can't just watch it anymore. And I flew home on an airplane back to Pennsylvania with my father, where I lived for the rest of the year. And I was at my best friend's house, and my mother tracked me down. And I got a phone call, and I heard somebody yell. Her sister was like, Tiffany, your mother's on the phone. She wants to talk to you. And I was like, oh no. And I walked up to the phone, I picked up the phone, and it was bad. She was just yelling at me and screaming at me, and my friend's mother had asked her if she was okay, which, it did destroy my relationship with my mother, but at that point I was not willing to be trauma bonded. I came back and said, I'm not going back there. And so in a way, my mother cutting me off was a blessing in disguise, because she was willing to be trauma bonded. And I would equate that because she grew up with a schizophrenic father who who destroyed and tore down her mother, to the point where she died in a mental hospital, not because she was mentally ill, but because he literally drove my grandmother to mental illness. She couldn't handle it. And my mother, I guess, thought she was being rescued by my stepfather because he was in the military, and he was also a lawyer for the military, and he gained a lot of money and clout and his reputation. He was like a head honcho, and she thought, I just know that's what it is. She thought she was being like rescued because my father, like a jerk, left her, even after he impregnated her with me, and he left her because for his high school love. And don't get me started on him, because he's told me stories where he said he realized my mother was extremely filled with low self-esteem, and I was like, okay. At the time, I had blamed my mother so much because she was clearly the one who was psychotic. I was trauma bonded with my mother. She would say horrible things to me. She would say, you're beautiful, except for the fact that you look like your father. And I would be like, huh? And I would go and look in the mirror and be like, and I just thought I was ugly. And then it was clear that his narcissism, she was codependent, but a codependent can pick up narcissistic fleas, which then they can abuse their children, maybe, and the abuse they're getting goes on to their children, even though at the core they're really they're just trauma bonded, and it's kind of like, it's just like they said, Stockholm Syndrome. It's like as if my mother was kidnapped and then she chose to stay and side with her kidnapper. I went through this. I was gang raped, although, you know what, I wasn't, I was gang raped, and I had nowhere else to go. My grandfather kicked me out, and that's actually what led to the gang rape. But then I hated the person who did it to me, but I had nowhere else to go after the fact. My grandfather was so horribly abusive to me, because he was abused by his father and abandoned by his father, and his father chose a whole other family to create. And so then all of his abuse came out on me. And I would say was trauma bonded, and I had Stockholm Syndrome absolutely with my grandparents. But my grandfather, for sure, I always wanted to see the best in him. Even though he would drive me to school and slam on the brakes to try to get my head to hit the glove box. And I would just try to win his love back. And, the same with that boyfriend that tried to kill me when I was like 19. That was Stockholm Syndrome. But I broke free. And I thank God I broke free, because I watched my mother get abused and stay in the situation. And I was like, And even though I had signs of getting beaten up and hurt and raped and bashed, I always escaped. And I'm not like taking the credit for that, but I definitely, I think that was a blessing from like God, that like somehow I knew better. Somehow I knew this is wrong. And even with my father punched me in my face and broke my nose. And it was over a lie that one of my stepmother's daughters told twice. And then again, his new wife, he would date these women that were like horrible. That was a firework. They were extremely jealous. They did not want another woman's child a part of the family, and I could just see that. But I was so desperate for their love and acceptance that is one of the couple times I was trauma bonded. I would say I was trauma bonded with the young man I thought that I dated then later, where I was trying to please his mother and his sister. That's trauma bonding. They're clearly abusive, and they're accusing me of horrible things that I'm like, well, wait, like, what? I didn't do that. But eventually, and I thank God, because I was trauma bonded to my grandfather, I kept seeing the glimmers of, we had this love-hate relationship. And I kept seeing like the glimmer of light, of possibility with him. That he wasn't totally evil. And then he would go back to being evil. And repeating what his dad did to him, but the things he would say to me were horrible. And it was like I just kept trying to prove my worth. Same thing with my father. When my dad punched me in my face, it was over a lie. I was at work all day and night till 10 p.m. as a 14-year-old. 14, I think. And when I got home, nobody saved me food. And I was like, I have nothing to eat. Like, I haven't eaten all day. And there was a milkshake, and everyone was like going to sleep at that time. It was 10:30 at night, and I sipped on a milkshake, and my half sister started screaming, and I didn't even realize that's her milkshake. Oh, she wants the milkshake, or else I would have. So I'm like on the phone ordering a salad from Applebee's because nobody like bothered to save any. And that kind of sounds pretentious, but I was like, nobody even gives a flying flip about me. Great. I'm like, wait, like now I gotta order. Okay. All right. And my half sister ran up and said that I kicked her, which I would never, ever, 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 ever do to a child. Like, if anything, I have always been like the whistleblower. I've always been the one to protect children. Here, I didn't realize until later, oh my God, she was screaming and angry because I had the milkshake she wanted. And that night turned into hell for me. And then I had to run away. My whole face was covered in blood. I'm sure you've heard my story. But what I can relate to with the trauma bonding was when the court took me away from my father and they assigned me a caseworker and a court date. And he lost custody of me because of what he did. And I remember sobbing outside of the courtroom, begging him to not leave me. And now that I look back, it was just like a girl would do to a boyfriend at that age. I did that, and I look at my patterns. And I always fell in love with somebody who was like discarding me, just like the narcissist discards. And just like, no, and then that codependent woman or young girl who was abused is begging for the love because she's never been loved before. And so, I know that's deep. But that is trauma bonding. I wanted to do a specific video on this because it is something that a lot of people do not understand. If you were abused, why would you go back? Cognitive dissonance is the answer. They may have raised you. They may have fed you one meal. They may have given you a glass of water. But yet they punched you in your face. They slapped you around. They locked. Look at R. Kelly, the R. Kelly documentary. Why? Everyone's like, why would these women stay with this man? They're not abused. Oh, I guarantee, I have goosebumps. He would feed them and then not feed them. He would show them love and adoration and then rip it away and lock them in a room. And so now there's cognitive dissonance. The brain goes, I don't know what to believe. Is it my fault? It must be my fault because he fed me. He gave me water. He let me pee in the bathroom. Usually R. Kelly was like locking women up and with no food, no bathroom. They had to pee and go to the bathroom in a room. His wife at one point. And everyone's like blaming the woman like, well, if you were really abused. It's like, no, you have no idea. Gone Girl. The movie Gone Girl is such a great example for when a narcissist abuses somebody and then look what she did. And that's my next video is about reactive abuse, where the abused victim asks, Am I the narcissist? She flipped her lid. She flipped her wig. She flipped out. She couldn't take it anymore until she faked her own freaking murder. Because she was so angry at this guy. Because nobody saw behind the scenes of the character. He was going to kill her. And so I saw that with my mother. And you know what? She's still with him. And he's been having sex with her cousin. And she has known about it for years. And I'm not giving out names. I'm just saying what it will drive a woman to do. Or a man, but especially a woman who is supposed to receive adoration, but true adoration. And the man just is like off doing whatever. And she knows, my mom would know that he was doing this. And that's my video on trauma bonding. It is legitimately, I'm like at a loss for words. It is legitimately so sickening, and I need a thesaurus right now because I have multiple words that I want to use. It is so sickening what a psychopath or narcissist will do to trauma bond a person to them. Just beat them and bully them, and then Stockholm Syndrome. I begged my dad after he punched me, and right before the state took me away from my father, and I was outside and I begged him. I said, Dad, please, please don't leave me. Please. Please. And I'm the one that ran away. And I begged him not to leave me. And that's Stockholm Syndrome. Why am I begging? Why am I not begging the state to put me in a home where people would love me and treat me with respect and not punch me in the face and put me through hell? That would be what everyone in the world would think. Well, that's what you would do if you were abused. You would tell the police. You would beg the police to take you. No, not all the time. And like my dad, I begged him. But the courts said no. Nope. He had to go to anger management. And I'm still begging my family. My grandparents refused to come and visit me because they blamed me for my father's name being in the paper for punching me. They blamed me, so they refused to come see me. And I remember being the only person in the foster shelter with no visitors. And they blamed me. Because for them it was all about the looks of things to the outside community. So if you had no idea what trauma bonding was or how legitimately psychologically twisted and how Stockholm Syndrome works, and you're like, okay, you didn't get beat, you didn't get raped, that didn't happen. Why would you care if that actually happened? Well, hopefully now you understand. So for anyone who's out there who's going through this, and maybe you're searching, and you're at that point where you're like, well, I keep hearing these things that make all the right sense, but then that doubt, that one small doubt comes in and goes, but he did throw a surprise birthday party for me? Why would he do that if he was like, if this was Stockholm Syndrome or trauma bonding, why would he throw a surprise birthday party for me? Why would he buy me presents? Why would he like ask to like marry me? Yeah, before I moved out to LA, actually the guy whose mother and sister, like whose mother called me a gypsy, so by caring for oneself physically and mentally can help break the dependence on the abuser. Looking after one's own wellness is important and can be achieved through exercise, meditation, and speaking with and seeing friends can help. Getting a positive therapist also. Somebody that is not going to abuse you, that you can just pour your heart out to. Start a journal. Keeping a journal is a good way to keep track of what is going on in the relationship and recording abusive behavior. But not only that, write down how you feel when you're with this person. Because if you don't feel right, that is red flag central. That is red flag central if you feel less than constantly. So start a journal, right? Write down what happened in the day with your partner and what was said and done, and cross-reference. It can help to identify negative patterns in your partner. Practice positive affirmations. Thank God they said that. Often in a trauma bond, the abuser will seek to lessen the self-esteem of their partner so as to keep them dependent on their validation. So the more you talk good to yourself, it's like another person is like, no, you're amazing. You're amazing. You're beautiful. Oh my God, you're so talented. Oh my God, like, do you know how talented and skilled you are? That's amazing. See, and the abuser wants to just chop you down. So you feel you need them. And your job is to lift that inner child up. No, you're beautiful. Forget what they say. You're amazing. You have so much to give to the world. You really do. That is why it is important. So self-affirmations, this is why it is important to remind oneself of one's self-worth and importance always, over and over and over again, until you remap your brain. The science has shown that the brain gets mapped extremely early in life, but guess what else it shows? It shows that there is extreme receptiveness to remapping your brain, and that it can be done. We're digging pathways in the brain. So whatever you were told by abusive people, there's like grooves in the brain, and that's why it's easy for then us to beat up on ourselves and not see the positive. What our job now is to see that inner child. If you can't see yourself as that, see another child and have mercy on them and remap the brain. It's going to take time. It's not, I'm telling you, when I found this out, I had like a white light experience that, wow, oh my God, there's a way out? Yes, but guess what? It's going to be a battle. It may be a battle, but you can't give up on yourself. It may not happen overnight. Some things happen like that, but sometimes it's going to take time after time after time, and eventually over time you remap your brain. But don't give up, because the other option is to give in to a narcissistic psychopath or somebody who just wants to degrade and make you their slave and destroy your self-will. And you don't want that. Nobody wants that. So here, practice, like I said, often in a trauma, okay, that is why it is important to remind oneself of one's self-worth and importance through daily. Think of it this way. One day at a time. Don't think of it, oh my God, I gotta go my whole life doing this? Screw you. Turn off the video, bye. There's no way. There's no way I can go my whole life like this. You can't think of it that way. It happens one day at a time. Every day it's like, okay, I wake up, say my affirmations, maybe say a couple at noontime, and then say a couple at nighttime. Every day, one day at a time though. Don't overwhelm yourself. But no, every day is going to be new. And it's just pretend you're dating yourself. Literally, pretend you're dating yourself. How would you talk to yourself if you were dating yourself? I know it sounds weird and corny, but honestly, stop being negative to yourself. You've got to be positive. Or else who else will? So through daily affirmations, one can boost their self-esteem and self-worth, helping keep up positive mental health. So positive mental health happens one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 hour at a time. Sometimes it's five minutes at a time. Sometimes it's just inch by inch by inch until your head hits the pillow that night. And honestly, that is the easiest way. Once you break it down, it's the easiest way to do it. Because otherwise, when you think of like, oh my God, I have to do all this at one time for the rest of my life, no, you can't do that. Here we go. Seek help from friends and family. It would be important to seek advice from loved ones, as they may help give the necessary advice on the situation. With the extra support, one can find the strength to make the changes and break. Remember the bonds? The bonds form and they cling. Break the bonds. One can also call the National Domestic Violence Hotline for advice on what to do. And I suggest having a therapist for sure. Key takeaways about trauma bonding. Traumatic bonding is a very real problem around the world, and necessary steps need to be taken to alerting loved ones to the cycle they may have fallen into and raise awareness of the problem at hand. So you know what? Some people may, I have goosebumps. Some people may have grown up with a phenomenal family, phenomenal boyfriend or girlfriend, great boss, everything's peachy. So it's your job, my job, any abuser, any victim's job to say, no, enough is enough, and stand up and let people know. It's kind of like having cancer, and let's say no one ever knew cancer existed. You don't just keep your mouth shut. You stand up and say, look, this is what's happening. Everyone, please, I need to spread this awareness. Because if we keep shut, then nobody will know. And nobody will know what we need to hear. They won't be able to give us the support that we need. So we've got to let them know. We've got to open our mouth. Like Milk, M-I-L-C-K, the artist. She she came out when the Me Too movement came out. I have goosebumps. And she came out with a song called I Can't Keep Quiet. I would suggest typing it in and listening to it. I would suggest typing in Dua Lipa. She has 2 songs, I Don't Give an F. She has another one about, what is the name of that song? I don't give a, let me get back to that. Jar of Hearts is another song that talks about breaking away from a toxic abuser. You Don't Own Me, there's the original, and there's the one that's redone that was in Suicide Squad, You Don't Own Me. So I would type in empowerment songs, and I would honestly start your day. If it's so hard to like get up and tell yourself these things, put on a song that is self-empowerment. Beyonce, oh my God, like anything that's like takes the power back. I would put that on in the morning, and then go into your affirmations. If that's what you need, if you need somebody else's voice just to like boost you into it, do that. Oh, what is the name of that song? I'm gonna type this in right now. Dua Lipa. Don't Start Now. Don't Start Now is about, don't come out and care about me now. That's a great one to listen to when you're escaping. New Rules. Dua Lipa, New Rules. And she literally talks about breaking away from a narcissist and the new rules. Don't answer the phone from them. Block them. Because if you keep them an open pathway through the internet, social media, your phone, text message, block them, because otherwise, see, once you break away, you can't just count on, well, I broke away once, I'm fine, I'm good now. No, because sneaky narcissists or psychopaths or somebody who is going to abuse you mentally, trauma bond with you, is not going to just give up. And once they see that you're gaining your strength back, that's all about, hold up, let me tape this. That's about trauma bonding. I'm reactive abuse negating. No, that's trauma. That's escaping trauma bonding. Okay, so traumatic bonding is a very real problem around the world, and necessary steps need to be taken to alerting loved ones to this cycle they may have fallen into and raise awareness of the problem at hand. There are many cases of toxic relationships through to child abuse that continues to grow. We must ensure that these issues are addressed and put an end to them. Yeah. So trauma bonding, I'll also bring up Stockholm Syndrome, because basically trauma bonding is Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is a specific type of trauma bonding that is used specifically to describe the trauma bonding between a captor and a captive. Not all cases of trauma bonding entail a captor and a captive dynamic. Sometimes it could just be your parents, a sister, a boyfriend that says you can leave at any time, when in reality they've gotten like their hooks in your brain and you literally can't leave anytime, even though you can. So they know what they're doing. I'm going to go ahead and end my reading now. And man, I've trauma bonded with my father. I've trauma bonded with my mother. I felt guilty. I felt bad saying that her husband was beating my half brothers, but by the end I was like, I can't do that. I can't watch you beat your own children. I can't do it. I'm done. I've trauma bonded with multiple boyfriends. I've trauma bonded with almost all of my boyfriends. And the people would abuse me, even friends. I've trauma bonded with friends that I thought were like my best friends. And in reality, they would like do nasty, horrible things if like I didn't do exactly what they wanted. And then I'm like, oh my God, like they run the coop. They're the queen of the nest. They're the queen bee. I have to like stay in good standing or else I'm going to have no friends. Even that is trauma bonding. If you go to high school and you have a Georgina George who is abusive, you may be like, oh my God, but I can't like just leave. I can't just leave because then who am I going to have? And then she's really going to spread rumors and lies about me. I have had so many frenemies, which that's trauma bonding. Frenemy, that the example is trauma bonding. Mean Girls, that is trauma bonding. Georgina George is the narcissist, and everyone is like so afraid of her that they won't say a word because they're terrified that they will be destroyed. That's Harvey Weinstein. Imagine being an actress and Harvey Weinstein is like, I need to be able to get in your pants anytime. Except I'm sure he said it much more disgusting. I need to be able to get in your pants anytime I want or else your career is over. Trauma bonding would be Wonder Woman with the director that said he would make her career miserable. But you know what she did? She stood up and she went and said something. So she broke any trauma bonding that he was trying to build. He was trying to like gain power over her mind. And she was like, I'm going to tell on you. It can happen with your boss, especially bosses. Trauma bonding, that's probably one of bosses and boyfriends and family members. I mean, what else do you need, right? But with a boss, that person gives you money to feed your family, to pay your rent, to give you structure in your life, to pay your car insurance, to pay just for everything, your groceries, everything. And they may treat you like crap. And you're like, but I can't leave. If I leave, I can't eat. How am I going to pay for my housing, my apartment, my car, my gas? Like, I'm going to have nothing. And so then you start to like not romanticize because that sounds sexual, but really, you start to like make it into, you start to kind of romanticize your friendship. And I don't mean sexually, but like you start to think, okay, I have no choice but to care and adore my boss because if I don't, I'm going to lose my crap. So, wow. This is so much more widespread than I think people realize, except for the victims. And I am so grateful that I even have the opportunity to make a video about this on my own without like signing to a label or signing to producers. And I can be in Hollywood and I can make my own video. So if you feel like any of this resonates with you, I mean, why would you even be looking it up? You possibly heard of the term. I just started doing research. Not just recently. I mean, when I came to the conclusion that my life, something was wrong. Like, I knew for many years, but I clung and I desperately pleaded for my father to love me. I trauma bonded with my stepmother. It's like I just kept wanting her to love me like a mother would. And I would play the lottery. Just like in Vegas, I would go to the freaking slot machine and I would just hope, nope, she hates me. Nope, she still hates my stepsisters. Please love me. I'm trying to be here. Please, I want a family. Please, like, I'm trying to help you with the bullying. Just love me back, please. If I keep on hitting the slot machine one of these times, I'm going to have a family. My stepmother will love me. My stepsisters will love me. My abusive boyfriend will love me. My abusive boss will love me. My father will finally see my worth and stop crapping on me. My mother will finally, oh, come on, Mom, come on. Maybe this time she'll love me. Maybe this time. And it's a cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and just end there. All right. Love you. If nobody told you, I love you. I may not know you, but if you are a victim out there, I feel that because I've been there. And just like you, I'm breaking the bonds also. So you are not alone. There's others of us breaking the bonds day by day. I would say congratulations for looking this up. I would say congratulations for even listening to an entire video. I mean, congratulations. This is huge. Look at this as a complete change. The change in your life that you've been wishing for, praying for, hoping for, you've been confused about. Guess what? The change is finally happening. It's being ripped, the trauma bonds are being ripped apart just from you watching a video on it. So congratulations. And if nobody is around right now that can tell you that they love you, I see you and I love you. Even though I don't know you personally, I'm here and I love you and I'm sending all my love to you. And congratulations, because you're on your way to a new and improved life. All right, I love you. Bye.